Hi, everybody. David Nour back with Randy Seidl of the sales community for another one of these sales community tech sales insights live. We're elated to be joined by Cheryl Cook, SVP of Global Partner Marketing at Dell Technologies. Hello, Randy.
Hey, Nour. How you doing?
Good. Good to see you. Cheryl, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you. Good to see you both.
You too. It was great to have you on our Tech Sales Insight podcast this morning. And for our audience, if you haven't had a chance to listen to it, salescommunity.com/podcast, you're going to get some great nuggets from Randy and I's conversation with Cheryl this morning. Cheryl, I'm going to ask you, for our audience who may not know you as well or know as much about your background, could you start with a brief summary of where you've been and what you've done so far?
Sure. Well, I feel like I've been at this a while. So I've been in the IT industry for some time at a few pretty fantastic companies and had some time with Randy at Sun Microsystems. And I'm currently at Dell Technologies, been here about 10 years, always started in engineering. So I have a technical background, but I've been in sales and now in marketing throughout that time. So having a great time.
Randy, what do you recall about working with Cheryl from Sun?
Well, just to be clear, I actually worked for Cheryl, so she's been really quite working with. So I actually worked for her after there's probably a storage tech acquisition.
Yes,
right? Yeah, back then. So anyway, she's great. She definitely took me in and took her under her wing and help me navigate Sun, help with partners, help with accounts. Very authentic, fantastic leader. And I want to make sure I don't forget, so I'm going to start off with it. So Billy Scannell, who we both know, I asked him for some tidbits, and he said it really well. He said, Cheryl is a channel superstar and well-known and trusted by channel partners around the world. So you got to
what better testimonial could you get, right?
Exactly.
That's fantastic. So Cheryl, talk about your journey and that testimonial. You've built an incredible brand. What would you say are the top 2 or 3 attributes in your brand, in how you show up, that's made you successful with this channel community?
Well, I hope authentic. At the end of the day, we all just need to show up and be vulnerable and authentic and listen, right? We're here to collaborate and help solve problems. And I think the essence of what everyone does in sales is helping our customers solve problems. So whether we're collaborating, working with partners or customers, you need to listen, you need to be resourceful, you need to be humble, and you need to work hard, right? You like winning, and I like winning, but that shows up in helping people solve problems. So I think at the end of the day, being a team player and a good communicator, but helping them achieve their goals is really what winning looks like. So,
Randy, I know you're a big fan of the channel structure as well. Direct sales, I'm over, directly responsible for my own actions and my own behaviors and my own efforts. Channel's a little more challenging. You've got to engage, you got to influence these partners to prioritize your products, your services, your value add against a lot of other things that are competing for mind share and wallet share. What have you seen to be a really successful go-to-market strategy in terms of a direct sales supplemented with the channel program?
Yeah, well, I think one of the first stumbling blocks is always getting which I'm sure Cheryl may or may not say, but kind of getting the end user reps to realize that channel is their friend, and having a sales rep have multiple reps almost working for them, so getting extra feet on the street to help sell more. So you would think is really common sense, but after all these years, still does not actually happen all the time. So getting through that. And then if I'm a channel partner, which, obviously you've got a great brand in Dell, and if you have a great margin program, those are two usually necessities.
So Cheryl, let me ask you the same question from a channel partner's perspective. What are they looking for in great direct sales reps in that territory, in that account that works really well?
Well, I think trust, right? At the end of the day, we need to trust one another, that we share mutual objectives and goals. And the reason I love the partner community and the channel so much is I internally describe it as it requires 3-dimensional thinking. And we need to ensure that we're thinking about a win-win-win for our customers, our partners, and Dell. And done well, you can bring a force multiplier and the unique capabilities and value that partners complement whatever our direct resources are bringing, ultimately delivers a better outcome for our customers. So getting that harmonization right, making sure you got really good clarity around roles and what our each respective roles are, creates a better experience. And at the end of the day, right now, it's all about customer experience. And so I think our partners are looking for predictability, trust, good technology, and a good brand. When you get all that right, Randy mentioned a good program. Clearly, they need clarity on my profitability opportunity and how much I can make. But when you get all that right, it's a force multiplier for everyone.
Randy, let's talk about, and I'd love Cheryl's perspective on this, predictive insights early on as I'm building out my sales team, as I'm building out the revenue organization. Are there some predictors of reps who are going to work really well with a channel partner, and or channel partner reps that you bring in, channel managers you bring in that have that DNA for really caring, the feeding, the trust that Cheryl mentioned in creating a successful channel program?
Yeah, I think you just answered it, right? The having the DNA and the desire and the aptitude really to do it, and have done it and want to do it. Cheryl will probably be a little bit more eloquent.
Cheryl, how about interview process? What are you looking for?
Collaboration, innovation, creativity, people that are problem solvers, right? So the pace that we're all operating at right now, it's just not really sustainable for all of us to do it alone. So this notion of I got to go solo and I'm going to go direct only, you can do that for a little while, but the ecosystem, you'll be pretty tired after a while. And I just think there is a force multiplier. There's a contagious energy. There is some repeatability in good behaviors and good problem solving that, frankly, there's a lot of problems yet to be solved. And when you can get that teaming right, one opportunity leads to 3 opportunities, leads to 6 opportunities, leads to 9 opportunities that everybody needs help on, rather than you having to do it all by yourself. I like to characterize it. Dell has one of the industry's best direct sales capability. Arguably when we married with EMC, which had one of the industry's best enterprise sales force, but we also have a material channel, and I call it the art of the and. The art of the and. You can be a world-class direct seller and find a really responsible, healthy, and collaborative way to team and work with the partner community so that we all achieve more.
So what has this pandemic done to channel efficiency, channel effectiveness? And I'm really curious of the trends, Cheryl, you've observed that are going to be fairly prevalent in the post-pandemic channel world.
Well, look at us today on this call, right? I think all of us arguably would say it was unplanned, unanticipated, but I think our partners and all of us have been remarkably resilient. And, necessity is the mother of invention, and we just all leaned in to be more open to the change in reality. And I look at some of the inspirational work that our partners and we've achieved. Dell just posted record performance in Q4 for the company and record performance for the fiscal year in the backdrop of the year we just navigated. So I think when you step back a little bit, the world needs more technology, not less. All of our customers were forced to really navigate work from anywhere. How do I enable my company to operate in this remote setting? How do I learn from anywhere? And fortunately, as a technology company, we have a lot of answers and solutions to help people navigate that. But for the partner community, I think it's just inspirational and remarkable when you look at the work they've done. I mean, they showed up to serve their communities. They served our shared customers. They innovative. We teamed like never before to achieve, and the results show, right? The results really show that commitment and resilience and grit that I think everybody demonstrated.
Randy, all three of us have, I think, clocked a whole lot of ridiculous airline miles and hotel rooms and rental cars. And do you believe the efficiency we've gained? Cheryl mentioned the adaptability from channel partners. How does that impact kind of the direct sales channel relationship and serving that customer on the other side of this pandemic? Are we going to get back on airplanes for those brief meetings, or you think it would be more of a hybrid approach?
Yeah, I think, hybrid, I mean, not that we're all selfish, but I think, you can, I've certainly learned, and I'm sure Cheryl is too, you can be, almost more efficient. It's unfortunate, like not traveling at all, but I think, used to be, get kind of, stripes on your sleeve by, how many miles and how much you're on the road and all that stuff. But I think, which is maybe good for work, but kind of definitely not a healthy lifestyle. So I think there's probably going to be a balance in there, for sure.
I totally agree. Absolutely. And I think it'll be a hybrid model. We absolutely will get back to some in-person activities. And, we're all social beings and we miss it as appropriate, but we've all navigated that a hybrid model can be equally as efficient. And you don't have to get on a plane and fly to London for the one board meeting. And sure, I'd love to have dinner with them, but I can do a board presentation in a Zoom meeting in 1 hour, and we all achieve the outcome we're seeking while we work on a hybrid model. So I've been kind of describing this pandemic as the great equalizer because it found all of us around the world, customers, partners, employees, family, in the exact same circumstances at the exact same time globally.
For our audience, I apologize, Cheryl. For our audience, if you joined us late, you're listening to Cheryl Cook, SVP of Global Partner Marketing at Dell Technologies. Randy Seidl is CEO and founder of the Sales Community. Cheryl, are customers going to demand a different experience from channel partners on the other side of this? What's happening on the customer side, and specifically problem solving? Those proof of concepts channel partners do exceptionally well. Talk a little more about the customer experience side.
Well, I think this absolutely is the era of customer experience. And we've known for some time that the buyer's journey has been evolving and advancing. And for, an industry, we're all talking about digital transformation. And this clearly has accelerated it. So we've just watched maybe 3 years of digital transformation in 3 months. And I think what all of our customers are seeking from partners, from vendors, is meet them where they are. And you need to be in digital forums. All of us are online doing our own research and background checking and investigating before a sales rep ever has the first meeting. So this idea of really embracing digital marketing, understanding the automation capabilities that exist, helping really drive preference. And you've got to be in multiple locations digitally, and it'll help make your sellers more productive. Your sellers are actually going to engage with customers at a far more mature level of the sales cycle, working on more robust engagements and proof of concepts to really seek the business outcomes that they want. And I think the fact that we're now engaged with line of business and IT, it used to be we had our own IT techie language and talked to IT. Now we're talking to line of business enabled and empowered by technology. And I don't think that's ever going to change.
Randy, as long as I've known you, you've worked diligently in building and nurturing great relationships with those business executives, those CIOs at these global brands. To build on Cheryl's comment, what do you believe they're going to expect from direct reps, from channel partners differently on the other side of this pandemic?
Yeah, well, I think during it, those that are, at Dell that have great relationships, the channel partners have great relationships, any of those that have the relationships, they really get a, unfair advantage, because it's not just having a relationship, but they're known, they're trusted, they're proven, dependable, reliable, and there's limited time and cycles. So those, folks, I think, as the channel has evolved and, doing so well for Dell, I think is something that's worked out really well. And then, going forward, it'd probably just be, a build on top of that, because if you don't have a relationship, you've been trying to break in, all this pandemic has caused, are those that, have been selling, that have the relationships, just to get that much stronger. So I think there's going to be even more of an obstacle for those that have been in the outside to, try and get in.
Let's build on that. Dell, global recognition, repute, credibility, been around a while. If I'm a smaller firm, if I'm a smaller tech company, Randy, how do I get awareness with those channel partners who have the end customer relationships? We've had Ken Growe from WECA. We've had Bill Hogan from Security Scorecard, other executives that have joined us. How do I get awareness from the channel leaders if I'm a smaller tech player?
Yeah, I think it's hard. And that's where the Dell and the big companies have such an advantage. Ultimately, it's about the margin. If I'm a channel rep, I'm coin operating, the margin that I can do. But the idea is, okay, how many of whatever companies solutions can I sell, and is that going to help me accomplish my goals and what I need to do and how I need to do it. And a lot of times the skin in the game from a channel rep is they're really vouching and validating for whatever company it is. So, they need to do their due diligence, or have their CTO or whoever internally do their due diligence to make sure that they're not going to introduce a solution, WECA and Security Scorecard, great companies, great solutions, all that. But still, it's a challenge for them being smaller versus being a Dell.
And is coin operated one of those technology industry sales, specific terms? Cheryl, similar question, a little different angle. If I'm a smaller reseller, I'm not the OEMs, I'm not the big global alliance partners, how do I get on your radar? How do I ensure that we likewise have some great relationships, and it'd be great to work with Dell as a channel partner?
Yeah, I think Randy said it best. I think relationships matter, but I think you look at, there's so much innovation happening in the industry, and a lot of these new emerging companies and capabilities are smaller at first. So I think the underestimated commodity of value right now is speed, because the pace of this market and industry we thought was fast before, and it's only accelerating. So I think any technology and any company that can complement and integrate well into solutions that accelerate the time to revenue for our customers, accelerate the relevancy of driving to the business solution that they're seeking, and you can provide an accelerant in either the speed of the sales cycle, the speed of the solution, that is value. And I think that's an underestimated piece of value that all of us need to really pay attention to. Larger companies provide a lot of confidence and maybe de-risk, but if you can collaborate and team with new innovative emerging technologies with kind of that trusted relationship and the confidence of a company, we always need to be challenging to incorporate new emerging capabilities and technology would be the way I'd say it.
I want to build on Cheryl's comment for our audience. I've got a client who's the CIO of a NASDAQ traded, publicly traded company, and they're rolling out this massive infrastructure, multi-year massive infrastructure upgrade. Yeah, he had a relationship with some of the bigger players, but he had a proven smaller integrator that he had worked with and had a relationship, had gone through it, understood the change management they were capable of, not just the technology, but the cultural shift that this digital transformation required. Went with that group, they're well in, and they're making great progress. And it goes back to that trusting relationship that Cheryl brought up. So I would encourage our audience to jump in with questions. Randy, we've got a question from Jesse.
All right, Jesse, thanks. Hey, Cheryl, what do you love most about channel sales?
Oh, I love winning. And I think I said it before. I like the stimulating challenge of three-dimensional thinking. I love problem solving, and I love finding that way to work and create momentum that's a win-win-win. And we have just so many examples of when it's done well, how it can just create new and more opportunities, more growth, and a force multiplier. And when it's done poorly, how it can really help you atrophy and stall and kind of lose mind share. So for me, I'm just inspired by some of the innovative work they do. And I love seeing the collaboration really bring unique opportunities. And again, the pace, it's that accelerant that I think it helps deliver.
We've got another great question from Tucker.
Yep. And I think based on our prior comments, Caleb had comment time kills all deals, which Cheryl and I would be violent agreement with. So
I agree.
Anyway, Tucker, thanks. Cheryl, what advice do you have for SDRs who are interested in going into channel sales rather than taking the direct selling path?
Well, I would say, if you're going to go work with partners, it's a bit of opportunity identification, but helping outline and identify the value and the upside for the direct rep as well as the partners. So I would say part of working in the channel is a little bit of relationship brokering, but it's also around enablement and awareness and educating the partner around not just the products you offer, but the program and how they can maximize the benefits of the program, giving them access and resources inside the company that they might not otherwise have. So I would say the selling attributes I find are quite similar. So you need to be competitive, curious, be a good learner, absolutely a good collaborator. Those will prove valuable to you in a direct or a partner selling capacity. But when you're in a channel facing capacity, it's a bit of helping navigate the win-win, as I mentioned, between your direct colleagues and the partner, ultimately to the customer success.
Cheryl, from our podcast conversation, I captured some really unique lenses and perspectives. One of them was Moonshot 2030. Talk a little about what that is and why that's so important to you.
Yeah, well, I think we are absolutely at a time where large companies, particularly the size of Dell, we have an obligation and a responsibility to ensure that we're leveraging technology for good, and that as a large global entity, we have a responsibility around sustainability and what we're doing to help the planet, what we're doing to advance and advocate for diversity and inclusion and gender rights and equality and underrepresented people of color. So Dell has, for the longest time, we're fortunate to work for a founder. So Michael Dell is extremely engaged and active and personally passionate about the company making sure that we're giving back to the community. So we established and published what we're calling our Moonshot 2030 goals, which are frankly a set of objectives and targets and goals, some quite audacious, about what we hope to achieve as a company in the areas of sustainability, diversity and inclusion, how we can help impact 1 billion human lives, whether that's through helping close the digital divide for underrepresented parts of the world, having access to technology and education. So it's a pretty audacious corporate agenda. We've been pretty public. We don't yet know how we're going to achieve some of these audacious goals. I happen to personally be a pretty passionate and vocal advocate for women in technology. And part of our 2030 Moonshot goals around women is that as a company, we have set a target to have half of our global workforce women by the year 2030 and 40% of our women leaders. So people managers, leaders in the company be women by 2030. And today, we're not bad, but we look like our industry. And the high-tech industry is in the 25 to 27% range. So there's a lot of work and energy, and we can't do it alone. We're asking everybody to play a part. We certainly actively engage with our partner community to help us in achieving those, but it matters to customers. We're increasingly seeing it show up on RFPs. Customers want to know what our agenda is. They want to know what we're doing about a transparent supply chain. So it's good for business. It's not just that it feels good. It's actually becoming a business imperative.
So Randy has a daughter. I've got a daughter. What do you believe has to happen? Are there 2 or 3 things that you think could be really practical, pragmatic ways to get to that? I love that. Half of the leaders, women, right? So what has to happen to get there?
Well, most of these positions are held by men today, so we need men to care. We need men to help us, and we need to all as leaders just take pragmatic steps on trying to include in your candidate pool when you have new opportunities and you're looking for hiring openings, more diverse representation in your candidate pools. And that's not always easy to find, to be fair, right? I mean, we're looking and we kind of, like I said, look a little like the industry numbers, but to make a change, we're going to have to all play a part. So I think it starts in school and advocating STEM. I think it starts in some of our university relations. I think it also starts, and Dell has been actively expanding the universities with which we recruit from to try and ensure we have more Hispanic candidates. We have more people of color in our candidate pool, certainly more gender diversity in our pools. But I think if people that had an opening and you just personally made a pledge to ensure you had more diverse representation in your candidate pools, at the end of the day, you need to hire the right candidate. Nobody should be hired just because of that. But if we don't take a conscious effort in trying to change the outcome, we won't achieve kind of what we aspire to.
Randy, I don't know about you. I'm just glad she didn't say half those jobs are held by men. We should kill them all. You know, we should get rid of all of them immediately. Talking about,
well, there could be.
that could be an option. That could be one way to go.
And then, Cheryl, I think in the podcast you had said that actually Dell has a requirement for certain number of either candidates or finalists per open position. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, we actually launched that last year, and we're holding to it. Certainly last year was a pandemic year. None of us were, horribly doing a lot of hiring. We've maintained it that for any open rec in Dell, there must be at least one diverse candidate in the candidate slate before the offer can be extended. Ideally, to do it right, we should make that 2 and more, but it's a start. And I think it's a policy that just helps people put it in practice that I think will help us at least move the needle, right? Directionally to where we're hoping to go.
Love that. So talking about brilliant daughters, Randy, you might recognize this next question. Someone we may or may not know.
Yeah, Shannon. Yeah, so my daughter. So Cheryl, she's at Oracle on the sales side, was SDR, now she's with NetSuite. So she asked, what made you transition from sales to more the go-to-market strategy side of the business?
So, it actually happened when we integrated Dell and EMC. So I was in an enterprise sales capacity joining Dell, became kind of Dell's channel chief. And when we merged with EMC, we had a very unique opportunity, frankly, at the maturity and scale of both companies to kind of clean sheet our channel program because we shared so many of the same partners. So once we put the unified program together, we kind of all went into different capacities, and there wasn't a global partner marketing function actually in either company. So when we put that together, I ended up taking the head of partner marketing, which is what I'm doing now, which I'm actually enjoying it way more than I thought I would. I actually thought I was just a sales veteran, but I think this notion accelerated by this pandemic, digital marketing and the transformation marketing as a function is going through is super exciting, super relevant, incredibly stimulating, and frankly is forging a stronger handshake with sales. Then you put that in the lens, you might appreciate this from Oracle, Shannon, you put that in the lens of everything moving to as a service. And we're talking about customer life cycles and customer success. Done well, that experience for a customer is the easy button through a console to either expand more services or upsell more opportunities I want. I don't need a sales rep to call me to get that done. What I need is a very intuitive experience done through digital automation in a console where I can just push a button and transact to get more. So that's where I think we're all moving. And I ended up kind of in this function kind of as a byproduct of let's help make it success with the integration of the company. And then now here I am 4 years later with just the state of the industry. And I just see all kinds of opportunity on where my sales experience and sales talents are actually lending a very positive influence on what we're doing in marketing. So it's an exciting time. I'm an optimist by nature, but I like problem solving and working on innovative things. And it's kind of an exciting time to be in digital marketing right now.
Love that opportunity proactively to remove friction, between what the clients may need and the experience they're after. So Randy, let's stay with Shannon. She has a great follow-up question.
Oh, brownie points. That's great. How did you personally accelerate your career as a woman in tech in a time when there were few women in tech and sales leadership positions? And what do you do for mentoring?
So I would have to say I've just been very fortunate to have been surrounded by good people where opportunities came and presented themselves. So I think at the end of the day, we have to have merit in our function. You have to deliver results. You have to make sure you are good at what you do. And fortunately, people took chances on me, right? People took risk per se, or were willing to put me in leadership roles and opportunities. And I would say mentoring, for me, mentoring is most effective almost in more of an informal setting. I am a formal mentor for several people, but I think informal networking opportunities, introductions to friends of friends. I have friends that call me a great networker because in or out of the company, I don't know that I'm as good as Randy. Randy is like the ultimate networker. But I do, when I meet people in different, it's like, oh, you would really benefit from knowing this person, or you're really on a path. And even if it isn't me, other than just brokering the introduction, just understanding, just networking and introductions to people that are like-minded, or they have capabilities and experiences you're looking to gain interest in or insight from, is really super powerful. So that's a bit of informal and formal mentoring.
Randy, I'm reminded of, I think we had Jennifer, who was one of our previous guests, who said that, the three ships: mentorship, leadership, and sponsorship. Right. What a great way to think about mentors and mentoring. So we have a question from Steve Childs.
All right, Steve, thanks. Hi, Cheryl. I'm struggling to get promoted. Do you have any ideas so I can get to the next step? I'm blocked at the individual contributor level and want to be a channel VP.
Well, sometimes, I don't know that you have a one size fits all answer. Sometimes it's not intuitively obvious to us that you need to take a lateral step into another role or opportunity that might give you a different set of experiences or a different set of opportunities that at the end really complements and rounds out your capabilities, as opposed to feeling like you're just stagnant or stonewalled. And sometimes that doesn't feel intuitively right, or it may feel a little uncomfortable that you need to make a straight line. Most all of us, I think, would share with you that, the path to where we are today looks more like a zigzag of roles and companies and opportunities that we would take. But that would be kind of my reaction.
Yeah, Nour, I know you do a lot of your kind of consulting, advising side, and a lot tied in with curve vendors. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I want to build on Cheryl's comment. She's exactly right. A lot of folks, and Steve, this might be useful to you. We tend to think of a career ladder. So I'm and Tucker asked earlier as well. I'm an SDR, then I may go to field sales, then management, then kind of move up in that sequential manner. We're seeing more what I call the career lattice, where exactly what Cheryl mentioned. I might go from direct sales to let's go in different part of the organization. And we talked about the best CROs, Randy, you and I have met, really understand and have a great relationship with marketing and absolutely understand channels. They understand RevOps. So don't be afraid of, as Cheryl mentioned, some of the lateral moves within the same organization. I like dealing with the devil I know versus devil I don't know. But if it requires maybe another organization where you can go laterally to learn new markets, new market segments, new environments, new relationships, to really build and nurture your path in different roles. So that's a great one. We've got another. So Steve, thanks for our audience, thanks for jumping in. These are some great questions. We got one from Laura.
All right, Laura, thanks. What trends are you seeing with teams and partners pivoting to social selling models, and how that ties to finding new buyers in this current environment? What are partner sellers telling you?
Well, thank you, Laura. Laura's in our Dell team, and she's been right in the bullseye of helping navigate and advocate all of the digital marketing enablement that we've just heard our partners clamoring for. So, one of the biggest realities is when we're all comfortable doing in-person events for our demand generation and funnel creation and closing sales, and then no longer any of us could do anything in person, a lot of our partners struggled with virtual selling and digital marketing. And your mileage may vary, right, by partner on what their capabilities were. So I think we've been really focused on new customer acquisition, and that became really challenging, right? It's easy to get relationships I know to join a Zoom call. People that are prospects and new, it's a little more interesting to try and have them navigate in a virtual environment. So we really embarked on a whole lot of best practice sharing and making resources available to the partner community that they could frankly be an extension of Dell. They could leverage we pivoted our whole executive briefing program to a virtual executive briefing program, all open to partners to leverage. We help them understand what social selling tactics were. How do you get the metrics? How do you ensure that the tonality of your brand is that you are here for good and here to help, and you are not opportunistic in this opportunity and challenge? So a lot of opportunity with the partner community. Again, I've been, just remarkably impressed and inspired on how they've embraced it. But as we're all saying, it's here to stay. It's not a nice to have any longer. It's really a must to have. And they're all really clamoring on, how do I get more educated? What marketing automation tools should I leverage? What is the best practices on virtual events? All of us have Zoom fatigue. Everybody went out to do Zoom, everything. Now, how do I make sure that it's relevant and has value and we conduct it? So we're not done, and we certainly are driving a whole lot with our partners to help ensure their success. And then new customers, I think, honestly, if there's anything this climate has kind of just reinforced, is the pace of change. As I outlined, people need to go fast. They're going to want to do it with people they trust, and they're going to want to do it with people that have the capabilities to help them be successful. So for us, it's cross-sell, upsell. You may be a customer of a certain part of our portfolio, but not all. And partners can lean into the breadth of that portfolio to engage in richer, stickier, more complex opportunities to help customers and partners. So I know one said, I've never been busier. We're apart, but I've never been busier.
Cheryl, to build on your comment about Zoom fatigue, today's my wife's birthday, and Randy Seidl actually asked if I'd be interested in live streaming our dinner together. And I said, I'm drawing the line right there. That is just not.
Absolutely.
Right. So this, and Randy, I'd welcome your comments on this as well. But Mike wants to know what tools make your job easier other than Gina, who's fabulous. What makes your life easier? What's your favorite productivity app? Android, iPhone, desktop?
All right, I'm going to go right out of left field. So I'd say anything on the fitness side. So I've got a Whoop strap, and there's all kinds of different things out there. But I think I would say because of this, you got the Apple stuff.
I have my Apple Watch.
But I probably sleep more and I exercise more just because I'm monitoring it. And I would say then because of that, I'm more productive.
Cheryl, you?
I like him. I do walk and talks. I'm a big advocate of one-on-ones and video-free conference calls. So I will just tell everybody in advance that I'm walking around the neighborhood for this hour and I'm bringing you with me. And I'm not going to be on video, but we're on the call and we're getting it done. And absolutely take care of yourself. We all need to.
Love it. On that note, for Mike, who asked, I love an app called 7-Minute Workout. So we're all busy. Same thing. I go for walks in the morning, but 7-minute workout. I started it when I was traveling. I could do it for 7 minutes in my hotel room. It's even become more valuable that we're all, kind of embrace the digital and video culture. The other one is sales community. This is a plug. Sales community. What a fabulous.
I missed it.
Right? You did. What a great place to come and learn and come and be a part of this community. Cheryl, the other thing,
we should probably give also legit work ones. So some other ones I think of are Evernote, which are kind of just an online kind of file cabinet to, put everything in. It's super easy to search and define. So that's something that I find works out great for me. And then also a Calendly, and there's, different things like this, but you can basically, so I could send, Mike, here's my Calendly, and then he can book whatever time that he wants, and that just saves a lot of the kind of back and forth, and it's automatically gets fed in with the Zoom or call or kind of whatever you want. So those are a couple that I use. Cheryl, just before we move on to the question, anything else kind of work-wise on the productivity tool?
Not necessarily on my phone. I think we've all become really, savvier users of Zoom and Teams and WebLink and Ring Central and all these other kind of tools, but I don't necessarily have a good one on my iPhone. I would have to sadly admit that most of my productivity savings on my iPhone are shopping apps.
Okay, well, how about that? What's
promote shopping. So.
What about one or two favorite shopping apps?
That's right. So get Etsy if you're not on Etsy. Absolutely. I do Amazon on my phone. And, we're all learning. I'm not at the grocery store. Nobody's in the mall anymore. The poor malls look dead, but you can still get your shopping done online.
Love it. Love it. So another one of the notes that I took in our conversation was Mark. Many advocating real change. Talk about what that is and why that's important.
Yeah, well, this is a training program that Dell launched probably about 4 years ago, and it is Many Advocating Real Change, and it's a very focused curriculum around unconscious bias. And unconscious bias, we all have it, and it comes in many forms, whether it's not just race, it's people with disabilities, it's people with learning differences, it's people from single parent homes, it's people from, it's just any number of unconscious bias. And we took all the senior leaders through it in year one. We've actually now taken every employee in the company through it. And it's a very powerful 4-hour workshop. Now virtually, we're finding a way to do it virtually in a setting in a couple hours. But it frankly just takes you through a series of exercises to help you appreciate the perspective of others. And it just helps us be more empathetic. It helps us appreciate and understand one another better. It helps people kind of open your eyes a little bit to what you weren't even aware of. There's a reason it's called unconscious, because you actually weren't even conscious of it. And that it matters in team building. It matters in productivity. It matters in fostering the environment of inclusiveness in an authentic way. You can't just have a lot of HR initiatives. We all have to live it for our values to be realized. And we've actually taken it externally to our partners. We've hosted a number of these sessions with our partners in Asia, with our partners in Europe. And it's just a very powerful initiative to just raise awareness, raise sensitivity, have all of us open our eyes and have a little better appreciation for what others may be going through that we might not have understood.
Randy, I'm always fascinated by really interesting training and development programs like this. And again, that unconscious bias is a big one. Have you heard of, in your relationships, anybody else doing anything really interesting or out of the ordinary or kind of a unique approach to learning development, maybe of the leadership team or internal, external relationships?
Well, I'll go back to when we first met, relationship economics, right? So I don't know if that was if I passed the test on that, but
right, nice.
Yeah. But I turn it back to you.
Yeah, I the things I'm really seeing that I'm fascinated by, and I would welcome Cheryl's comments on this. Things that we realize are going on, we haven't paid as much attention to, that maybe this pandemic has brought to the forefront of our minds, right? I was talking to a group of leaders yesterday. We've all heard of empathetic or compassionate leaders. What does that look like? What does that mean? So a client has put on how to be a more empathetic leader. And I thought it was a fascinating topic. They're doing more. Cheryl and I talked about this. Unfortunately, a lot of the diversity, equity, and inclusion, Randy, you and I have talked about it also. It's lip service, right? We'll put it on somebody's list, and it's great to have as a mantra. What are we doing about it? So I've got clients that are teaching their leaders, and recruiters, let's go more into the inner cities. Let's go look for those less representative groups to uncover. So I'm fascinated by these new topics that we've known for some time. Relationship economics is another one. Tell me who in technology, sales, or channels doesn't believe relationships are important. What are you doing about their significance? And how are you being intentional about those? And another example of that approach. Cheryl, obviously, I was really taken back by and really appreciated coaching the 5 C's. Yeah. So remind our audience the title of our podcast this morning, and then I want to go to a question from Craig. But what are the 5 C's? Why are coaching those so important?
Well, for me, I just think they're more character traits, but they're behaviors that I look for in interviewing or hiring, and I think stand out as helping people be successful. And so one would be, you got to be competent at your role. And I say this because as much as I advocate diversity and inclusion and fair representation of women, we all have to be good at our role, right? So you need to be competent and stay on top of your game of the job or function that we're in. I think you need to be confident. At the end of the day, trust your instincts, trust your guts. I said, if I could go back and have a conversation with the 21-year-old version of Cheryl,
which was just last week, last week.
My instincts and my gut were right then. And they're right now. I just have more seasoned experiences now to believe it and have confidence in it that I lacked then. But trust your instincts. Your gut is almost always, always right. Be competitive. At the end of the day, we like winning. I mean, we need to be competitive to show up and be the best we can be, to help our team win, to help us either win that deal, win that sales target, or help that customer achieve what they're looking for. But you got to have some energy. You got to have some passion around being competitive to do it. I think you need to be collaborative, because I think resourcefulness shows up in collaboration. Communication shows up in collaboration. Getting more people working on your behalf and persuasiveness shows up in collaboration than just having really sharp elbows and trying to do it yourself, because none of us can do it alone. You need the resources and the help and the assistance of being a collaborative team player to be able to get it done. And my 5th is community. Give back. I'm a huge believer that we all get what we give. And if you give compassion, you give time, you give love, you give insight, it will come back tenfold. So make sure we're giving back, whether that's through mentorship, we're helping your community, what social things you are passionate about. It keeps us all balanced. So those are my 5 C's.
Randy, I love those. Any comments on the 5 C's? Can coaching those?
No, it's great. I mean, on the community side too, all of us have been kind of given a lot. Then I argue much is expected in terms of being able to give back, which I know Cheryl's always done over the years.
So let's go to Craig. He does apologize that he joined us a little late. I guess that the gist of the question is, what strategies do you use in the work from home era to fill the gap in development of your global alliances?
I think it's like all of us. We've been finding our way on what's most effective and relevant in this virtual setting. And I did comment earlier, I do think one advantage we all have is none of us had an alternative. So if we had an alternative, we would all go do what we're comfortable doing. We would have gotten on a plane and gone to New York and had a fantastic dinner, and we'd have built some bonding relationships, and it would go from there. But when that's removed from all of us, we all just push through that change management, and we just found a way to get more comfortable with these. And I think we're all learning and have kind of settled in the size of meetings, how many people you bring on, the tiles, so people will open up and feel more candid. Sprinkle some fun. Part of relationship building and bonding is celebrating over wine tasting or a cooking event or something that helps bring the levity, right? Everybody enjoys having a little fun. You know, that would be the one silver lining, and it goes back a little bit to kind of the social unrest we've seen through this pandemic and kind of giving back to the community, is I think this pandemic has revealed a genuine humanitarian side to all of us. And I think that is sorely needed. I think it is here to stay. I think it helps bond all of us as individuals and irrespective of the role we're in. And it used to be, if we had a conference call and a baby cried or a dog barked, you had this awkward silence. We all remember that silly CNN video of the guy's wife dragging the baby out. I mean, it's like everybody panicked. Now you want to meet the dog. You want to know the dog's name. Now you see the kids. It's ingratiating. You have a human side to you. You have a family. You're teaching your kids at home while you're doing all this. I think that is going to serve dividends for all of us, because that has kind of removed just some of these barriers. Don't sweat the small stuff, right? We all have a lot on our plates and a lot to do. And I think the question about building alliances in a virtual, all that helps forge genuine, authentic relationships, frankly. And I think they're going to bond and be built over different things than the steak dinner we would have all had, and we can't wait to get back to, when we were together.
Cheryl, I told Randy, one executive that I'm coaching pre-pandemic, and this has been several years, I've only seen the man in a white shirt, suit, just buttoned down, and just very corporate. During this pandemic, one of our first visits was he's in a t-shirt, pair of shorts, and as you said, his dog that I didn't even know he had jumps in his lap. And it's like, it is, I told him, it's so refreshing to see you relaxed and see you be you. And I think increasingly more of us have shown up on these things. So that's awesome. Let's go to, I for the record, I'm paying Mike and everybody who says nice things about me. But Randy, Mike's got a question.
All right, Mike, big fan of the show. Been reading your book on relationship economics. What's the most nonlinear relationship you've had, Cheryl? One that has got you past growth.
So let me just give it some context. Let me give it some context. So I talk about there's certain relationships in your life. And Cheryl, I asked this question of you of the podcast towards the end. Some relationships beyond our performance, execution, and results leave an indelible imprint on us, really have a profound impact on us, and shape not just what we accomplish, but the leaders that we become. Can you comment on one or two of your relationships that have really shaped the leader that you've become?
Is that to me or Randy?
Let's start with you while Randy thinks about his.
I would say one is personal. I've always been inspired by my father. So I'm the oldest of three daughters. Always was told by Dad, you can be anything, you can do anything. So I think there's that level of just support that was empowering. And always, he would always say, what's the worst thing that can happen, right? The worst thing that can happen is you learn from it and you move on, right? I mean, so always just reassuring that failure isn't a failure. It's more about learning. And I'm a curious learner. So I think that is probably always stuck with me. And then I think I've been inspired by watching over time. I think women, back on my bent of women, sometimes they leave the workforce because it's a personal priority, whether they're going to go have children or whether they have to take care of an ailing family member, or they have to, it's just this notion of, I'm more 360, three-dimensional than just this job. And all of us are. And I think I've been inspired by watching women just take the time and then come back and not apologize for it. Actually be the bigger one that actually took on more than the rest of us take on to be able to do that. So I think, the more I've been in the business and the longer I am, I think just the more I appreciate, respect that authentic 360 view of all of us. And I think when we get centered in that equilibrium, we're actually stronger and more powerful and show up in all dimensions of what we do.
I just interviewed Harry Kramer, the former CEO of Baxter, CEO and chairman of the board of Baxter, 12 billion in revenue. And I asked him a similar question, and his comment was, don't let your identity equate to your job. So there's more to us, exactly what you're saying, right? There's more to us than the person that just shows up and does the job. What are your values? What are the things you believe in? And be that, which the job should ideally be one piece of that, but not all consuming.
That's why I believe you have to be authentic. You can't be somebody different at work than who you are.
Love it.
You have to be you.
Randy, one or two people that had a real big impact on you.
So I'll do two quick ones. One, Scott McNeely, that Cheryl knows well as well. And he just would always say, don't let corporate bureaucracy get in the way, and kind of do what you have to do, which was great. And then Bill Campbell, who's since passed, there's a book on him, $1 Trillion Coach, but just really, he was all about how to be authentic, kind of add value, give back, kind of get your fingernails dirty in terms of all that you do to help. Mm-hmm. And I'll just kind of highlight our Justine Tucker just sent me a text and said, Cheryl, so far you are our number one LinkedIn Live guest of all time for LinkedIn Live AMAs. I'm not sure how many, but you're so congratulations. We'll get you a little gold.
Put it on my shelf. I a little trinket to put on my shelf.
Right, for our audience on the podcast, I told her to drop a mic because I asked her a question about I asked her a question about RevOps, and she gave me. So you have to go back and listen to the podcast, but it was the most concise, well thought out, just articulate answer. So Cheryl, kudos on that. Right? That's very cool.
Drop the mic award. There you go.
Right, there you go. So in our last few minutes, let me give you each a chance for final thoughts. So
let's get Craig quick if we can.
Say again.
Can we get Craig's question quick?
We did. We jumped in on that one.
Oh, we did already. Okay, Great. Okay.
So final thoughts on channels, final thoughts on direct sales, final thoughts on the post-pandemic world. Randy, I'm going to go with you first.
Yes, I'll do a commercial here. So sales community, if you want to learn more, sell more, great webinars like these, great training content, great networking. There's lots of channel partners that we have on the advisory board, a lot of other sales executives, great folks like Cheryl. So I'd say check out sales community. We have a no-brainer 30-day free trial that I'd encourage everybody to do.
Cheryl, final comments about again, channels, reps, post-pandemic world.
I would say lean in, and for sellers, I think those that really embrace this digital marketing and how to forge a stronger relationship with your marketing team is going to pay huge dividends in this post-hybrid world. It's not just about the team that does events and gets you tchotchkes. It's genuinely better targeting, understanding the digital footprint of your buyers. Your buyers have changed. They are online. And I think that handshake done right is going to be game changing.
I'm going to bring those two comments together. Sales community at its core is about relationships. I think Cheryl would also attest her success, her team's success, and Dell's success is also about the breadth and depth of authentic relationships they've built. So on behalf of the sales community, Randy, Seidl, Cheryl, thank you for being our guest.
Yeah, thank you, Cheryl.
Thanks for having me. Great to see you guys.
For our audience, we host a Tech Sales Insight podcast every Tuesday morning. And typically that week's guest as a live stream each week, typically at noon Eastern. So I hope you'll subscribe to both the podcast and join us again next week for our next Tech Sales Insights Live. Thanks, everybody.
Great. Thanks.